South Africa is a country of possibilities. It's a country where a boy from the village would become the Chief Justice.
Now, these are the words of outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo as he reflected on his role as Chief Justice.
Zondo was speaking at a special ceremonial sitting to honor him as he retires from his position.
And he will be succeeded by his Deputy Chief Justice, Mandisa. And in his final speech, Zondo also acknowledging the role of former Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng.
He thanked all South African presidents for appointing him to a particular position during their tenure. Zondo will retire at the end of August.
When I say this country has been very kind to me, in part it is because over my 27 years on the bench, there is no president of this country who served at least a full term who did not appoint me to some or other position. All of them, without exception, who served at least one term, appointed me. President Mandela appointed me as a judge of the Labour Court and also appointed me as a judge of what used to be called the Transvaal Provincial Division of the High Court. President Mbeje appointed me as Judge President of the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court. President Zuma appointed me as a Justice of the Constitutional Court and subsequently as Deputy Chief Justice. I don't know how happy he is about that. President Ramaphosa appointed me as Chief Justice. President Zuma also appointed me as chairperson of the State Capture Commission. So all the presidents have appointed me at some stage or another to some position. I thank President Ramaphosa for having had confidence in me that I would be able to lead the judiciary properly. It's an extraordinary opportunity that I was given to serve as the head of one of the arms of the state.
We'll stay with this particular story now and speak to Mzwandile Mbeje, SABC News Politics Editor. Mzwai, it's a great privilege, he says, and he talks about the honor and what it meant to be, in this particular position, but also serving in one of the arms of the state. A man that has been described by some of his colleagues as courageous. Let's reflect on just what some of the colleagues had to say.
Oh, well, in fact, you've mentioned it so well. I think one of the threads of the speeches was courage. And I think it is as a result of perhaps one of the most memorable occasions when he obviously took on the former president. And then, of course, we know what ended up happening. But one of the things they really said about him was that he was a man who was really, who was a stickler for process and believed in the Constitution. So whatever he did in terms of the application of his activities was informed by the Constitution. I think that's why Bongiwe, when he then finished, he basically said, there's just one gift I would like from you as my colleagues. As you discharge your responsibilities, stay true to your oath. No favor, no prejudice, no bias. That is what he said as the last word. So you can see this is someone who really wanted the law to be applied in a very fair way.
And especially because, you know, when he said those words, I thought to something that was said last night by his very close friend, Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng, who said that at some point you may find some of the colleagues wanting to get closer to some politicians and speak about their, their colleagues in one form or another, and saying to him that you have literally just worked so hard. I've watched you, even touching on that process when he became the chairperson of the State Capture Commission.
Oh, yes. And it's a very interesting story because there have been many other stories about how he was appointed. And he himself, Bongi, he has just said, all democratic presidents, obviously excluding former President Mandela, have had a say in his appointment, perhaps which is testament to what they saw as a potential for him then to rise. But then let's come to how he then got appointed to the state capture. Himself as the Deputy Chief Justice, together with the then Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng, were busy trying to look for people who would chair the commission, but they couldn't find anyone for one reason or the other. And then when Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng then decided to then turn to him, remember they are sitting together looking for people who will chair. They can't find anyone. And then he says, can't you be the one to chair this one? He said, if that means serving my country, I will. So.
And, you think about not only on the legal fraternity did he make an impact. Last night we got to hear about a moment that takes us back in history when he was there talking about his own history, how he got to be able to get through school. One man helped him and did not even want him to pay him back. And that story brought him to tears. And then you get to hear that now he's actually, him and his wife, from their pockets, are helping a number of young people to be able to stay in school. It also speaks about another chapter to this particular story that spends 27 years in the legal fraternity.
Absolutely. I think when he was appointed to the Constitutional Court, that story first surfaced because you could see, as you have said, outside the legal fraternity, you could see humanity at play. I mean, here he was someone who had been seen by community, by members of the public, that he had a potential but didn't have the means. And there was this one man who was able to help. I mean, he couldn't help with cash, but he said, you know what, in order for your mom not to worry, so I'll be able to deliver grocery every month. So that your child can focus on the studies. I mean, look where he is now. So it's an amazing story. It's an inspirational story. Basically what it says, Bongo, is that we are not defined by our backgrounds, by who we are. If you have a dream, if you are determined to achieve your goals, so you can, even if there is adversity, somehow you can overcome. Of course, it does need the support, and the support comes in so many ways.
And you think about the fact that even, the tributes are spanning just outside even the legal fraternity. Your Archbishop Thabo Makhobas, everybody else talking about this very courageous man. Let's talk a bit about that particular, part of the tributes, because it speaks as well to a career that's gone beyond just the legal profession.
Oh, yes. I mean, when we speak about courage, and obviously people will always link it to what really came to define who he is in the state capture. Because, yes, he was known as the Deputy Chief Justice in the Constitutional Court, but then the state capture placed him at the center of the South Africans. So South Africans got to experience him in so many different ways.
Even quoting controversy.
Of course. In fact, at some point, they were even calling him Perry White because of his deep voice. So why? Because South Africans had taken note of him. And then here was the situation where the former president had been summoned to come to the commission, but the former president had issues with the processes and going as far as taking the matter to the court. I mean, we know what ended up happening. The former president was subsequently jailed. So that was seen as courageous, especially because there were threats to his life. So I guess, even his security had to be beefed up. So he then decided that whatever it took, I will continue to discharge my responsibilities.
Speaking about former president, I see there's a briefing tomorrow at 12. What can we expect?
As we stand here, Bongiwe, on the 29th of July, the National Disciplinary Committee of the ANC expelled the president, former President Zuma from the ANC, but he was given 21 days to appeal because it's possible he may have had the grounds to appeal. So since then, nothing has happened. If you then count from the 29th to perhaps Monday, I think that is 21 days. So, but you know, former President Zuma, sometimes there are these technicalities he would always come up with. So the fact that tomorrow he has a press briefing, we don't know whether it's about this, and there are so many issues around MK. It's possible he's going to speak about his expulsion. Is he challenging it? Is he going to court? I suspect he may go to court because the first reaction after the expulsion was that he was going to court, especially when he was dealing with the processes of coming in person and virtually, you know, those kinds of things. So he did threaten court. So is he going to go to court? It's something I think we will get to know about tomorrow. Tomorrow. But this is other thing that I suspect. The deputy president of the former president of the EFF has left the EFF. He's joining the MK. Is he going to be unveiled? That's another possibility. But also, Bongiwe, it's the very MK today. They were taken to court because those 18 members of parliament were expelled. 10 of them have said, no, we're not going down without a fight. So we expect all those to happen. So it's going to be very interesting tomorrow.
Interesting indeed. Add Jabulani Khumalo to that particular mix.
Oh, yes. Who has just laid the fraud charges, I think it's 2 days ago, against former president. So there is always a pity around what is happening. As he himself, former President Jacob Zuma, said, there is a pity.
I wonder how will he evaluate that pity then tomorrow. So thank you so much, Mzwai, for your time. That was Mzwandile Mbeje, the SABC News Politics Editor.